Okay,
One job. Good job, you do.
as mentioned in the email, Frank, Bill, Carrie, Duncan, I don't know who else are all down at the US. Who? Oh, Larry, are all down at the US Nationals in Madison, Wisconsin. And who? No, they're not. No, they're not going after. No, not going after the Republican National Convention. In any event, so we have a smaller group today, but it's still pretty good. So thanks you all for turning up. First thing we want to do is ask if there's any new people, first-time members, first-time joins. I know there's a couple. We'll go with Tony. Which Tony are you? There were two Tonys who Tony Coates. Okay. Well, hang on. I'm going to pass this to you, Tony, and you're going to tell us a bit about yourself. A very small bit.
I talk a lot, so don't give me this. Hi, I'm Tony Coates. I'm the Environmental Health and Safety Manager for ZF in Woodstock. We make all the brake rotors for F-150s and Ram pickup trucks. So if you have a Ram or a F-150 that won't stop, don't come see me. I've been modeling for about 15 years again. I started back in the Aurora days. I'm older than I look. And of course, that ended when I found out about girls and real cars at about age 13. So spent many years in the military, Army as a fuel truck driver. So I poured fuel into everything from starfighters to 707s. So if you need any information on where to put fuel in them, I can probably remember. And then I spent many years again as an officer in the Naval Reserve. So I got a bit of a military background. And I'm glad to meet you guys so far. Any advice for the Russians? Well, I was stationed in Germany for many years, staring across the border into East Germany from West Germany, and most of their equipment was broken down most of the time, and I see that has not changed. So no, I don't have any advice for the Russians.
And for anyone modeling Russian, just make sure you weather them significantly. That's probably the best advice. Kevin. Yeah, just tell us a bit. Say hi.
Name, rank, serial number. Yeah, okay. I'm Kevin. I've been building models since I was about 10. I got out of modeling eons ago. I found out about women and motorcycles, and cars. I too spent time in the military. I was an MSc op. In other words, a glorified truck driver. So I got to drive tanks, Jeeps, Ducey's. I like building an array of models, but my favorite kits to build are flying boats. I like the oddball stuff, so hence I'm working on an Airbus 380. And I work for Toyota. Don't ask me any questions.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Tony. We don't have a lot to talk about today, thankfully, because neither Stuart nor I want to talk about much. IPMS Canada news? Nothing?
Well, our leader is down at NATS, meeting with the IPMS USA and IPMS Mexico president.
Yeah.
They're calling it the Little Amigo meeting.
Yeah. There's Canada, Mexico, and the IPMS USA are all meeting down south. The 2025 show, did you want to talk a bit about that?
Let's talk about the show. Does our previous show chairman, did you say you were going to be show chairman again? Okay, so we still need to find. Okay, that's what you weren't here last month and we were having issues. So before we can continue planning for a show, we need to get a chairman. Is anyone here interested? Anyone? We will give it till next meeting when everyone's back. Oh, You'll take it, Peter?
Peter.
All right. You got the agenda? Lot of work, but we're gonna get lots of help this time. Okay, who else already agreed to be on the show committee? Raise your hands. Good, good, good. And we got a couple who are away. All right.
You're gonna be working on the day, you're not on. I remember we had that talk.
Okay. Well, hopefully you'll still be around. We hope so.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So we will discuss the show. I'm gonna say the club meeting. We'll discuss the show. You better say that back.
Yeah, give me that.
Give me that back. We'll discuss it more next.
Yeah, we'll discuss it more next one. This is going to be kind of a lazy meeting, as you can already tell. Summer build contest. Y'all remember we decided we are going to have a summer build contest. Basically, start something, finish it before the August meeting, bring it to the August meeting so we can all laugh at it. Sounds good? So you all now have 4 weeks to finish. Some of you have 4 weeks to start. I know we're going to do it to the August. I thought it was September too, but Frank made an executive decision and made it August. Oh, we have even more and more.
There's trouble.
No. Okay, well, that takes us to the table, and we have a lot on the table today.
It's time to copy them down. So
Yeah. We'll put them up. First things first, a couple of months ago, Carrie brought a bunch of books for free. These are free. I just finished reading them. They're both really good. Dam Busters Raid, probably the definitive look into it after all the secret information is revealed. And this is particularly interesting for anybody who's interested in military history. This is the Operation Corporates, the Falkland War. And it's a fairly detailed review of something I didn't know very much about. I just thought it was kind of a stupid little thing to fight about islands in the South Pacific. Turns out it was a South Atlantic. It was a stupid little thing to fight about islands in the South Atlantic, but it's worth reading. And so either of them free, take them, please. I don't want to carry them back home with me. There you go. All you got to do is ask, Mike. All you got to do is ask. We'll keep circulating all these free books. Do you have another free thing? All these are free?
Yes.
Really? I'll take them. No. We'll look through these. So we have more free to look through. I won't go through them right now. I'll go around the table and get rid of myself first. Hey, summer build. I've finished it. Started it and finished it. Yeah, this is a terrible kit. I don't even remember who. Special Hobbies. I bought it from Peter, from that group, that stash that you were distributing. So I've actually built it, and it's a mixed media, resin, plastic, everything. XF-85 Goblin, McDonnell Douglas, and it's stupidest idea of an airplane in history. Supposed to fly in the bomb bay of a B-36. They could never get it back in because of the wind and everything, and so it was kind of a dumb idea. It was supposed to intercept in interceptors, Mach 3 interceptors that were going after the B-36 or whatever. And this thing's not going to take down anything. And then once the B-36 is shot out of the sky, this has no place to land. It has no landing gear. So genius ideas. No, it didn't. Just this suicide machine. Yeah. There were several. Yeah, it had a landing skid. It had an intention to come back down. This one was supposed to stay up in the belly of the plane. Anyway, that's that, and it's done. So I'm in. I'm good. I'm good for August. Spitfire. Whose Spitfire is that?
Me.
Mike. Hang on. Let me pass it to you.
It's not really the Spitfire that I brought in to look at, but it's the base, getting into building bases and displays. I recently purchased a static grass applicator and with some tutelage from Ron, sort of thought it'd be a good idea to practice different hues and variations of grass and a little bit of stone. So I just started slapping some stuff onto a little round piece of wood and hitting it up. I took it home and looked at it and went, oh, I can park an airplane on top of that, and it sort of fits. So that's didn't start out as that. It just started out as an exercise to practice my skills.
What is?
Oh, Static grass, it's very short pieces of nylon or
It's a polyester of some sort.
polyester,
Yeah.
very short strips like chaff. And you have this applicator that has a static charge, and from the positive to negative, as you shake it over top of wherever it's going, it helps to stand it up. If you look, yeah. Hey, Mr. Mangler, can you pick up the Spitfire gently and bring the little base over, please? And pass that to George, and if you eyeball it, you can actually see, you have to, you get a better view when you look at the side.
Yeah, no, it's that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't it?
Yeah, you put down glue like.
Now you do.
That's why you join clubs.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's a model railroader, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's who came out.
Thanks, Jeff. It's a neat effect, really neat effect, yeah. And I'm working on another base of gonna be a control tower taxiway with a couple of trainers going down the taxiway. And that's a Airfix 176 scale control tower purchased off of Jeff, not just Jeff, sorry, you're Jeff, Stewart, a few months ago. And it's coming out nicely with a little bit of weathering. 1960s area, that's why it's not some olive drab with camouflage colors on it. And it was just this afternoon, I finished putting the railings on and looked at the clock and said, oh, I'll never get through the painting and have it dry enough to bring out. So they're still white, but they will be black. I still have to put the Airfix crystal clear in for the windows. And it will have some antenna on it, but they'll go on once it's on the base.
Windsock on?
There will be a windsock. I've had it confirmed from a fellow that even in the 1960s, the RAF bases would have a windsock. I was wondering about that. And especially if they had little trainers.
Okay, we're gonna skip over to this disgusting thing.
Gee, thanks. Yeah, there's a couple of miniatures that I've completed recently. They're 3D printed and scaled up to 54 millimeter. And I've been doing some oil painting and shading on these things. You see the YouTube fellows, the miniature painters. The rage now is all these contrast paints and everything. But you see some of the guys on there that like do, one-offs or competition or commissions and things like that. They go back to the old oil painting techniques on these miniatures. So I've been fooling around with that and we're getting some pretty good effects going back to that old method. So the base colors are painted in acrylics and then just seal it with some matte or gloss varnish, depending on the effects that you want. And then go at it with thin down oil washes and, blending and things like that, which is very easy to do. I find with some of the contrast paints or like say the shade paints from Citadel, if you try to put them in a localized area, and especially on matte paint, around the perimeter, you'll get a stain that you can't blend out. Right. And I've tried many things, even going like from having the paint in the brush in this hand and painting it on, and then with a wet brush in this hand, like trying to blend it, and it still doesn't work. But with the oils, they blend out quite easily. And then the base, of course, is my styrofoam done on the hot wire cutter, and that'll be all painted up in a pretty nasty looking dark environment to suit these things. That's it.
All right. Disgusting. Speaking of disgusting, we have this aircraft. Whose is this? George. We're staying at this table right now.
This is a sword kit. I bought this from Mr. Blappy a couple of years ago. It got built. It's on the internet, it said it was a limited run kit, which after working on it, I discovered it meant good luck. There are no tabs or insertion points like that to put parts together. It's all butt joints. So you got to line everything up just right. It did come with a marvelous resin interior, which would look great for the size. It's called a Curtis Seamew. They only made about 350 for the U.S. Navy and 42. Total complete disaster. The Navy insisted on using a inverted V12 air-cooled engine, so you can see the exhausts are on the bottom of the fuselage. The engine overheated. It couldn't take off with a full load of fuel, and in rough seas, the pontoon would flex so much it would strike the propeller. So after 3 years, the Navy discontinued all of them and went back to the plane it was supposed to replace. So it was, the interior was fun to build because all the resin stuff was great inside. I tried to weather it up knowing it was sitting on the back of a cruiser or a destroyer for months at a time. So I tried to rough up the exterior as much as possible. The canopies sat proud and sat too high, and there was no way I could sand them down. So I built up with plastic panels the top of the fuselage so it would line up with the proud canopy. And the same with the rudder extends into the rear canopy, and it didn't line up with the canopy the way it fits. So I had to rebuild that a little bit as well. Other than that, it was just fun. So that's what is a limited run kit I've just learned.
Very limited. Thank you. Always good to know.
Yeah.
The next one, if you could readjust the camera, I think. Tony?
all mine.
That's what I thought. I figured they were yours, so you can describe them. to it.
Sorry if I brought too much. I had no idea, so I brought everything I made since Christmas. The machine guns in the back are an absolutely ancient kit by Adams. They're actually intended for remote control planes, the machine guns. They're 1/6 scale. When I opened it up, the sprues were just sort of one solid piece of chunk of plastic. So I had to pretty much carve those all out. Spent a lot of time painting them up for a realistic finish. The brown sidewinder on the end is probably, if there's any old guys here, they'll remember that as the old Rattler from the Tom Daniels kits that came out from Monogram back in the late 60s. It's been redone now by Round 2, but they bought the molds, but they did not buy the rights to the name Rattler. So they still wanted to brand it as Tom Daniels. So they had Tom Daniels' son make up the decals for this and called it Sidewinder. That way they could put the Tom Daniels name on the kit. It's still just the old kit. The rose chrome is all treated with Citadel black shade. I really like this stuff actually. Just to tone it down a bit, because of course the kit chrome or rose just looked a little overpowering. The beer wagon is an original 1960s kit. Somebody from the States gave that to me as the intact kit. Original decals still worked. Looked like new. I made that one in May. I finished that one. Yeah, no, May I finished that. All these have been done since Christmas. The Rommel's rod is the other old Tom Daniels kit. The beer wagon was a Tom Daniels. My goal is to work through all the Tom Daniels ones I can get my hands on. They were such good. They're so simple in materials. Late 60s, very early 70s. These are kits I coveted as a kid, but they were $3, and that was out of the question that I could buy a $3 kit. In 1969, there was not a hope of buying one of those. The Sidewinder's been released. The beer wagon, yes, it was re-released. The Rommel's rod is a 2020 re-release. So that's actually a brand new kit from the old molds. The last one is an Ashima Mad Max 2 Interceptor. Excuse me. I bought that kit at a garage sale for $1. Somebody'd hacked the door out really badly. It looked like they used a skill saw to cut the door out, and started to paint it up. The A-pillar on the passenger, the A-pillar on the driver's side, it's an Australian car, was completely broken off. I had to patch that all in. The interior had been partly painted very badly. I think they used paint by numbers paint. So I stripped all that and repainted that. The back cargo area is all scratch built because what came with the kit was on the inside is all scratch built. What came with the kit was not even basic resemblance of the real thing. So, and then I ferried in the door and sort of got it hung and everything. And that's that. I won't, you look at the movie car, it's dirty. Well, it's a post-apocalyptic wasteland. So, he didn't take time to wash and wax his car.
And they didn't have soap.
Yeah, they didn't have soap.
Okay, that's great. Cam, I think you came in with the X1.
Yes. For those of you who think that I don't build planes, I used to build a pile of planes when I was a teenager. And this is one of the ones that turned out better than most. I did it, I think it's a Rebel kit. I did it with a rattle can of orange, and then the rest of it is brush painted. And being a young modeler, I didn't realize that, well, that plane you really ought to nose weight it. So it sat on its tail on my shelf for years and years and years. And then during COVID, I took a look at it and I'm like, how can I fix that so I can display it? So I permanently affixed it to that board and did a little bit of sandpaper on there to make it look like a runway. And then hand painted the little no limit in the corner and hand painted the figure and fixed him on there. And then it also has a little eyelet hook in the top corner. So I display this by hanging it on a wall.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it turned into a nice little piece. And, I obviously had built that when I was a youngster, only probably a few months after I'd seen the right stuff.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's nice to see it clean after all these years too.
Mhm.
That's the other thing. Okay, Peter, I believe these are yours.
Those are a couple of Gruber hounds, or actually Grosser hounds from Machine and Skrieger. They're 1/35 scale. They're a Strahl Army, basically drone for ground. Basically as a group, same little squadron that I did them in. The one dirtied up a lot. It's basically a more northern forest, heavy forest look for camouflage. And the one that's the more brown and black, I gave a little story to. It's basically the one unit that just keeps on surviving and surviving and surviving. And since it's a Gruber hound, the commander gave the technician a permission to pay him the way he wanted it to. And you can see its name on the side of its one flap, as I painted it like a dot, basically like a dachshund. And it's Hans Gruber hound. It was surprisingly easy. There was some parts that were mislabeled in the instructions for the sprues and that. But that was easy enough to figure out. Doing some of the things, the instructions were a bit vague. This Hasegawa kit, and basically the 3 cables or hoses that go from the arms into the back of the back on to the front of the backpack were a nightmare trying to line them up. So I decided, okay, the bottom four, I'm gonna cut the pin locators off. And so I just had to exactly place the top two into the pin locators. And fortunately, the other four, once I did that, lined up perfectly. But overall, a fun little build. Didn't take too long, about a week and a half for each of them. They well, since the last meeting. No, that goes for my docks, which is another 35th scale. Machine and Skriger.
Okay, this next thing is the mystery ship. We're going to give it to Robert to tell us what this is all about. It's a gorgeous, smooth hull, I'll say that.
So I was given this hull, and last time I was here, I said my summer build was a Liberty ship. So I had to spend a week up in Ottawa and then Montreal, and I did it, built it, finished it, and I left it there. So, so yeah, I'll have to wait until I go back up there, which is going to be after September. So I'll bring it and show it, but it's not going to show. Now then, this is the hull of a Hippa class, which was a German class battleship, well, pocket battleship, as Churchill called them. And this particular hull, I think sells for over 100 pounds. Anyway, it was given to me. And I said, what am I going to do with that? And what I wanted to do was, I've always wanted to build a paddle ship. Now, a paddle boat. Yes. Yes. So I should have had, do you have a little laser pointer? No, I forgot it. So this is Appleton Hall, which is one of the preserved paddle ships. There's not a lot in the world. And you will notice that it's very functional. It's a steam-driven ship, first of all. It has a boiler. And most of those are center flue boilers, or in which the gases go up and they intermingle with water tubes and produces steam. The steam is fed to a large engine, which is lying at an incline. It's not dead flat. It kind of goes up and down like this. So it's and it's double acting, so you get 4 power strokes per revolution. The paddles on the sides, and this was, if you've ever done any reading about paddles and screws, the screw is essentially a better driving mechanism, but unfortunately, the hype about a screw is unfortunate, because the paddle works almost as well as the screw, and with proper design, the paddle can put up a pretty good competition with a screw. The ship itself, if you look at the back on the stern, there is a small building with windows in it. The engine itself is usually located under that in most ships, like a Corvette. In this case, it just provides light. The actual engine is underneath the bridge. And so the engine then feeds by 2 shafts onto the paddles at each side. The other thing about the paddles is that they do not enter the water like that. They have a articulating mechanism, so that as they penetrate the water, they're flat, and as they leave, they're flat. They do that. And so you can just, you might be able to see it on one of those drawings. It's a framework that is pivoted on the paddle. If you look at the paddle closely, you can see that arm comes down and changes the angle of attack of the float. The paddle is called a float. And so when you float concrete, you use a wood a wood, thing. Yes, Mike? Yes.
Why don't build
Yes,
it would suit the hall a little bit better.
yes. Evelyn Hall is just, I have a nice set of pictures. And for most of the audience, they don't have the faintest idea of what ship I'm talking about. And you really had to say something, didn't you? Anyway, so Mike is right. It will be more like the Waverly than it will the Epperton Hall, all right? The other thing is I need a drive. I need a couple of gear sets and motors. And what I would really like to find is I can get this from Amazon, but what I would really like to find is a tank that is available for parts, 1:16 tank or so, because they have drives, 2 drives, and you can go reverse or forward on each one. So the nice thing about a paddle ship is that because you could drive the paddles independently, you can have one go forwards and can have the other one go backwards. And as in doing so, you can turn it on a dime, which is why the Admiralty in Portsmouth preferred the fellows, the captains of even aircraft carriers preferred to have these paddle ships, paddle tugs, because their maneuverability, being able to move the larger aircraft carriers into position. It's not something that you do easily on a screw. On a screw-driven boat, you got to get forward motion before the rudder does anything. Nowadays, of course, you have bell thrusters and quart nozzles and all those wonderful inventions and electrically driven motors. This is 1910, 1920, 1930, 1940, 1950. Director, I think, was the last paddle ship that was actually built and used in service down in Portsmouth, which is where I lived. My dad worked there, so I have a certain interest in it. One other thing before I go. Party's almost ahead. Isn't that beautiful? So 30 years ago, or 35 years ago, I was given about 100 sheets of this stuff, and this is 60 thou. And I've been whittling my way through it and gradually giving some of it away. And this is what I'm going to be using for building the deck and superstructure out of scratch. I have to change the stern. I have to make it more working. It has to be cut off, and we don't have to have room for the screw underneath. It does have a rudder, but the paddles do most of the steering. So I have about 50 sheets of this stuff. If anybody needs some, feel free to ask. It doesn't cost anything. And yes. No, it looks fat. It's really skinny and fine.
Camera adds down.
No, it's the paddles. If you put the 2 paddles side by side, they're about equal to the beam of the ship. They're very fine ships. They really do move. And the problem is that like most paddle ships, if you have a paddle steamer with a bunch of passengers and they all run over to one side to look, it goes over. They have terrible stability. The metacentric height is just, it's all wrong on a paddle ship. So anyway, there we are.
Thank you very much, Robert.
Good enough.
We get an education as well as fine modeling. All right, I was gonna go to Dave Blappy, but no, now we have more planes here. So Pablo. We walk in, you take control.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so the CF-18 is the Rebel monogram. If you remember 4 months ago, 5 months ago, when I brought the big frame picture of the CF-18 from William Tell. So that's the plane that Steve Neerlich used when he won William Tell in '96. And basically it's the kit out of the box with the flight deck decals. And I think it comes, yes, it comes with 2 drop tanks, and the third one actually comes with 1 drop tank, and the other 2 drop tanks, I took them from the SC 148 F18, which is it's not actually an F18, it's probably the prototype. But I had to modify a little bit those 2 drop tanks using the one from Rebel as a template. So that's it. And then, no, the only important thing from my point of view is that also besides that represents Steve's plane, I built another one for him in 72nd, sorry. So I'm going to meet Steve later this summer to give him his plane. I had to dig the hole for the light on the nose, and I covered it with a micro clear different layers. And the paint scheme, the interesting thing from my point of view is that on top of the wings, it has 2 maple leaves. So instead of having maple leaf and the serial number, it has 2 maple leaves, and that's based on the picture that I have of the plane. And all the little wear and tear and dirt and everything, something I had never been able to achieve to this degree. But the gentleman here, Mr. Anthony Goodman, taught me the technique with very diluted and the pressure for the airbrush and everything, and I have achieved something that I had never achieved in my life. So thanks to Anthony. So very happy with this one. And then the other one, it's a model that is called Attack Girl, which is a transport group that they had in the UK. There were 164 female pilots that delivered planes from the factories to the squadrons in World War II. The figure is based on Maureen Dunlop. Maureen Dunlop had an Australian dad and British mom, but they were living in Argentina. She was born in Argentina, studied there. Her dad was in charge of administration of farms for a British company. When she was 16, she went on vacation to the UK. She started to take lessons to fly, went back to Argentina, and because she was underage, she was not able to take lessons, so she forged her birth certificate. And then she became a pilot in Argentina. When the war broke, her sister went to the UK, worked in the BBC, and she volunteered to ferry planes. And regretfully, if you were a female, you had to have 500 hours flown before they were allowed you to get close to a fighter plane, whereas the males only had to have 250 hours. So she had to gather another 250 hours flying in the UK. So finally in 42, she was able to join the pool of female pilots that were ferrying planes. She flew 800 hours throughout the war. She flew Spitfires, Lancasters, Barracudas, Wellingtons. Her favorite plane was a Mosquito. She's out of 164 female pilots. She's only one of the 3 that received an award for her services during the war. When the war finished, she was hired by the Royal Air Force as an instructor. And then she moved back to Argentina. She joined the Argentinian Air Force. She became an instructor in the Argentinian Air Force. She opened her own air taxi company. And then in 1973, she moved back to the UK, where she bought a farm, a stable. She bought, a farm. and she breeded horses, which is something she had learned in Argentina when she was young. And she passed away in 2012, 91 years old. So very interesting life. The model is a resin kit, a figure made in South Korea. And it's fantastic. No bubbles, no nothing.
very easy to assemble. And what I did besides there's several pictures taken from Dunlop. Actually, she's famous also because she was in the cover of one British magazine during the war. So she came down from a Barracuda and she was talking to the ground crew, and she realizes that somebody's taking pictures of her, and it was a journalist, and then she became front cover of a magazine in the UK during the war. And this pose she has here is based on that picture, one of the pictures. So the watch that she's wearing there in the figure, I made a decal, which is actually the image from that picture, and I reduce it to 1.5 millimeters. So it shows 1:30 p.m. And that's, if you look at the figure, it has that. The one on the parachute is also a decal that I made, which is taken from an original parachute. I found a picture online, so it's an Irving parachute. So all the things from Irving are there. And I also printed and made the name on the base and the letterings and arrows on the fast release on the parachute. So lots of, yeah, but it was 10 days to build and paint. So super fast compared to a model plane. Okay, sorry. 10 days ago.
Summer build, you in? Okay, that gets us to Blappy. Speaking of insane kits, here's you can explain what you've got.
So I've got the new Aoshima Back to the Future time machine from Back to the Future 1. They just released that in the last 6 weeks. Aoshima did. I've picked up 2 so far. My purpose with this is my friend Jason Eaton, who goes to Wonderfest every year, sets up these big group builds. Last year, he did the Galileo shuttle mashup challenge to make something different out of it. So he's doing one for the new time machine this year. So my plan is to take one of these time machines, and I've also got on the table there the kit of the Lotus submarine from, was it The Spy Who Loved Me, James Bond movie? So I'm going to make a time machine submarine out of the DeLorean. I'm going to enclose the bottom. I'm going to make some dive planes for it. I'm going to print some propellers for it and that kind of stuff. And maybe make louvers for the windows as well in CAD that I can 3D print and add on there. So I thought that'll be kind of funny. I have a second one of those. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it yet. I've got a pretty radical idea. Maybe I'm not sharing, or I might combine it with a Blade Runner spinner and make a Blade Runner time machine. So we'll see. But anyway, it's a beautiful kit. Take a look at it, pop through the box. It's got a ton of pieces in there. It's really detailed. The gull-wing doors operate on this one. They give you in clear styrene. They give you these little flames for behind the tires if you want. It even includes, apparently I haven't seen it myself yet, but there's the camcorder is in there, and also the remote control for the DeLorean you see in Back to the Future 1. So it's a beautiful kit. It goes, Sunward Hobbies has them for $70 Canadian. So it's not too bad considering how many pieces are in this kit and how nice of a kit it is. So it's just gorgeous. Later in the year, Aoshima is releasing just a plain DeLorean. No one's ever done a kit of a plain DeLorean ever, so it'll be the first one to ever be released. There's tons of kits from all the different companies of all the different time machines from all the different Back to the Future movies, but no plain DeLorean. So I might pick up a plain DeLorean and do it in golf racing colors. We'll see.
I like the idea of a submarine time machine. Then you can go to New York in the future. It'll be underwater with a climate change. To tie it all up, Dave, you can talk to us about this the Viper, the F-16 that you built, and this came from a kit you picked up at Swapmate, right?
Right. This is the F-16 Fighting Falcon, I'm sorry. The high class kit, the pilot seat is metal. There are a lot of parts in there metal, but I didn't get them in because I got that one built and I got enough for 4 other planes. So it's just a matter of finding them now. But it was fun building. I had to glue the tail wheel wings on because it was always flopping and that and broke off. So I ended up and I got the high-tech missiles on it, and the standard bombs are still in the kits at home. extra pilots and everything else. So that's it.
Okay, that takes us to the end of it, and we got a bunch more books that came in for free for the taking, I believe. Yes, oh, and magazines. We'll just start putting some of these out. What I'll do is, unless anybody else has anything else they want to talk about or share or anything like that. Yep.
I picked up a yard sale collection. I'm not a Star Wars builder, but there is, and I can't say the word, so don't make fun of me. It is a I can't say it.
Commemorative
Thank you. Edition of the Darth Vader TIE Fighter. If somebody wants it, I'm looking for World War I or World War II aircraft, and I'll gladly make a trade.
Preferably with a hull,
Preferably. Yeah.
water-based hull.
Water-based hull.
Okay, that's great. Yes, Robert.
If anyone is got the Corvette kit or is building a model of a Corvette, you should see our executive. They have some information that may be of considerable interest to you.
Yeah, plans, that's right. I forgot all about them. Yeah, okay. Well, they don't exist, but if you're interested in plans, come see me for the Corvette. I know, Cam, I think you are building one, or you're looking to build one. Yeah. You may have an interest.
There's also a 7 seconds. Everything there is either 10 or 15% off.
Yeah, nobody wants the old Matchbox one anymore, but it's a great kit. Yeah. Nobody wants them. No. It's yeah, to that point, to Stuart's comment, Bruffdale's is still doing their sale. I mean, it's 25% off basically anything on the shelf. It was on the wall. It's on the wall behind the.
When you first come in the door, it's right, Corvette's right there. Above you.
Yeah.
Oh, right inside. No, it's on the other side.
No.
Oh, right. So basically, everything now, he's got a week missing in his dates. So I'm not sure if everything's 10% or 15 right now. Next week, everything's 15. Yeah.
I got the Qatari Spitfire.
Yeah.
132, 25%.
Yeah, that's because 100 and above.
100
If it's 100 and above, you save 25 bucks. You make 100 and above in purchases, you save 25. Below that, it's either 10 or 15 because his chart, he missed a week. Like next week, it goes to 15% off. So it's a good chance to go and see what's there.
And
Like,
there is a new owner. It's been bought. They're going to probably be switching over. We think the end of the summer.
yeah, I have met him. I don't know anything really about him yet.
He has a Hawaiian shirt. That's
He has
the
a
only
very
thing.
loud Hawaiian shirt, so he seems to be a character. So, but yeah. Peter, anything at Neo Tokyo? There you go. Good brand. Okay, is there any? Yep, I don't think there's anything else. Anyone else have anything to add? I know Nats is gonna be fun. Keep an eye. I know our fearless leader and a few other characters are there. So, okay, thanks, guys. Okay, that's about it. I'm going to end it.
Thanks, Stuart. Hey, Stuart,
Yo,
what's Bruffdale's armor selection like?
they had a couple on the special red shelves, and they have a few. They have a few around.
35th scale or smaller?
Oh, 35th.
35th? Does
Yeah.
he have a website?
No, nothing that lists stock.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.